Hello, everyone. We have a special episode of the Association Pod. We are going to be interviewing our champion, Nate Carlson of Wiggins of Naz. We asked Nate a little bit about his season and his championship run. We talk about his roster, some of his favorite players from the season, and then we talk a little bit about Nate and his journey and share some of his blessings and praises that he has, that the Lord has blessed him with, and some of the things for us to pray about. This episode is definitely going to be a special one to listen to as we celebrate our champion. Let's get right into the interview now. Welcome, everyone, to the Association Pod. We have a special episode as the season has come to a close. We are going to do our first ever interview today, and we have the league champ, Wiggins of Naz, Nate Carlson, joining us. Nate, how's it going today?
It's good, especially coming in here as a champion. That feels really good.
I bet so. Nate is the champion in the 9th season of the association, and he's the third champion of our newly minted memorabilia prize. We might talk about the prize a little bit later, Nate. I know you put a poll up in the group me chat to get some input from the rest of the guys. We'll talk about that a little bit later. How does it feel? Tell me about how you felt during the season. And do you have a sense that this was going to be a season where you could compete for the title? And when did you first feel like you had a chance to win the whole thing?
So I had high hopes going into this season because last year I bottomed out because the year before that I had gone all in. So I didn't really have any draft picks going into last season. So I was really bad. I made a few trades, traded away some of my assets to accumulate some more draft capital. So I think I ended up with 2 first-round picks, and other than my keepers, all my picks were in the top, 105 picks of the draft. So I had really high hopes coming in, and I was really excited to see what I could do in this season. And then I think it was pretty early on in the year. I made a trade. One trade, I landed Luka and Maxey in one deal. I gave up a bunch of picks to do that, but I feel like that was the moment where I was like, okay, if everyone stays healthy, this could be my turn to go all the way and win a championship.
For sure. Yeah, that trade definitely sent some shockwaves across the league and led to, I think, a couple of other big trades we saw from some of the other contenders in the league. And it definitely puts you on a path where you were definitely one of the favorites for most of the season, for sure. You had to face some adversity with those 2 first-round picks, considering that your second one, Trae Young, was basically a non-factor throughout the year. Did Trae Young being hurt early on, was that part of your mindset when you pulled the trigger on that Luka Maxey trade of, okay, I've gone all in with these top picks, and if Trae isn't going to be a contributing factor, I need to pivot and get someone else added?
Yeah, I was kind of looking at my roster and I saw, I mean, you always want to have some contingencies in case of injury. So I took SGA number 1 or with my first round pick, and luckily he was pretty healthy all season. Quite possibly could be the MVP again this year. But with Trae Young really not contributing anything all season, I did want to build in some redundancy there. So I did go after a few point guard eligible guys in Luka and Maxey, to try to erase that vulnerability just in case somebody got hurt. And it actually worked out really well because I didn't really get anything from Trae Young all regular season or even in the playoffs. And then I lost Maxey in the playoffs. He went down with a fairly minor injury, but it was a week-to-week kind of thing. So I didn't have him. So I really was riding Luka and SGA all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, when I was looking back, obviously I was on vacation for the finals, but I was going through and checking your roster, and obviously I knew that you had Tyrese, but on your final day roster, you obviously ended up letting him go and taking a chance to add some other players you needed. But obviously Maxey was a great part of your season, helping you get to the point where you clinched the first round bye and you were able to get a fast track into the playoffs.
Yeah, I wanted to throw Jimmy Butler's name out there too, because he started the season so hot. He was really good. I think I got him in the fourth round, and he was outperforming that. And then he obviously tore his ACL about midway through the season, which was a pretty big bummer for my team.
For sure. Yeah, you actually got Jimmy in the 5th round,
Oh,
and
okay.
I think that leads nicely into my next question I wanted to ask you. You obviously had a bunch of star talent on this roster with you drafting SGA, Trey, and Jimmy, and then trading for Luca and Tyrese. But I wanted to ask of the players on your roster, whether from the guys you drafted or somebody you added this season, was there a favorite non All Star, non top player on your roster that when you watched him play and you watched him put up stats, you're like, this is my guy. I'm so glad he's on the roster. It felt like an underrated part of your run this season.
Probably my favorite guy, and it's a guy that I almost used as a keeper before the season and ended up actually getting him in the draft, was Stephon Castle. Anytime I would tune into a Spurs game, it's just fun to watch him. He plays hard on both ends of the floor. Really talented guy. Obviously, was the rookie of the year last season. Um, but it felt like he was just stuffing the stat sheet in a number of different ways. And I always felt, and I need to dig more into this with the Yahoo like player rankings. It always felt that his ranking was so much lower than what the value he was actually bringing was, simply because he was getting points, assists, rebounds, steals, blocks. He was really solid in all of those categories. So um, I feel like he did have some turnover numbers, not a tremendous outside shooter. But I feel like where I got him, and I think I got him 105th overall. Um, I think that was really good value in that spot, and he brought a lot to the team every single time he was on the floor.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Castle had 1,006 points, so 1,000 point scorer in the season. He had 435 assists. He had a good number of steals as well. He had 73 steals in the season. Like you said, I think he did get hurt by mainly the free throw percentage and that low number of 3 pointers. And his turnovers were pretty high. He had 193. And
Mhm.
obviously, as much as Castle has the ball in his hands, he shares a lot of that responsibility with Fox, and he shared some of it with Harper as well. So, I mean, that's definitely a lot of turnovers when you look at it, but he obviously performed much better than what the Yahoo player rankings let you tell.
Mhm.
As an outside observer, I think for me the most impressive non-star was you getting Derek White in the 4th round.
Uh,
I think Derek White was probably your most valuable player from the fact that I mean he performed 15th ranked in Yahoo's rankings, which I know we just brought up some of the questionability of the reliability of those rankings. I mean, he almost had 203 pointers made. He had 1,188 points, 300 plus in rebounds and assists. And the most impressive part was his blocks. He almost had
mhm.
100 blocks for the fantasy season from the point guard position. I want to say when I matched up with you in one of our matchups in the regular season, I think that was the game where he had 8 blocks or something ridiculous in one of those
Yeah,
games.
his
And it
his
just
defense was insane.
I think you getting Derek White and him performing as almost a first round value and getting him out of the 4th round was probably one of the biggest reasons above even you having the 2 first round picks in the trade, just the value you got from him. At least from an outside observer, that was who I would pick as probably the best non star you had on your roster for sure.
Yeah, he performed really well. I knew going into the draft that I wanted to target a Celtics player or two just because Tatum was going to be out. Obviously, he's come back now, but um, we didn't know exactly what his season was going to look like or if he was going to be out the whole time. So I knew that there was going to be some extra production available for some of those Celtics guys if they could capitalize on him. So I remember when Jalen Brown went off the board, I was disappointed because I was targeting him around that area in the draft, and then getting Derek White um, was really key there with just how he performed all season. Had a tremendous year.
Yeah, he was great, and even with Tatum coming back in the finals, Drake still got you 61 points, 21 rebounds. He got 10 assists as well, and had 9 3-pointers and 9 steals.
Mhm,
So he's still, even with Tatum coming back, he was still such an important part of that Boston roster, and
mhm.
definitely an important part for you making a run and being able to hold off a really close matchup with Ryan W in the infirmary.
I needed every single one of those assists.
Every single one. Yeah, and that the assist category being tied as we were watching was definitely a nail biter, and you edged out the victory for having a better regular season record, probably partly being able to get the second seed, right? You were second seed going into the playoffs, correct?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, being the second seed over Ryan W being the fourth definitely gave you that tiebreaker advantage to hold off. You mentioned your keeper players that you ended up keeping, and you decided not to go with Castle, and you kept Donovan Clingan and you kept Matas. What,
Mhm.
if you remember from the offseason, was the reason why you decided to keep both? Obviously, the Bulls homerism was a factor with Matas, but what was the decision of keeping those two guys in the offseason before the draft?
Yeah, some of it was projection of I see upside in those guys. I remember watching Klingon absolutely destroy my Illinois Fighting Illini in the Elite Eight 3 years ago, and I was like, "This guy's gonna be good." Um, just the dominance he showed against an Illini team that had some NBA talent on it, um, was really huge. Um, so I feel like he had a really good season last year. Um, Matas had a really good season as well, but I felt like they each had another level in them, and I still think they have higher heights that they can climb to going forward too. But I also was looking at because I bottomed out last season. So I had a lot of guys who were waiver wire guys, 12th round keeper value. I had a bunch of guys in that like 9 to 13 round potential keeper value. So I was looking at, okay, where are these guys getting drafted in the other drafts? Where are they projected to rank this season? And where's the best value there? I really thought about also keeping Alex Sarr of Washington. I traded him to you, didn't I, in the preseason, right?
Yes, yeah, I ended up trading with you to get Sar, and Sar ended up having a nice keeper league. He did miss a lot of time with injuries, and obviously the Wizards were
Mhm.
are one of the most notorious tanking teams in the season. But you had a lot of keeper value players that you could have kept. I mean, the when we look back at your roster before the season, you had, I'm getting it pulled up here real quick to just double check the roster. I mean, you had Io DeSumnu, who had a great season even after his trade. You had Klingon and Matas. You have Suggs, who, along with his injury concerns, was probably part of the reason why you decided not to go with him. But he would have been an 11th round keeper. You
Yeah,
had
he was
Quentin
on my list.
Grimes. You had Quentin Grimes, who ended up on your final season roster again through waivers. You had Scoot, who obviously started the year hurt, but there was some good potential keeper value if Scoot was able to stay healthy. Yeah, there was a lot of strong talent, but I think Klingon and Matas were probably great picks. Matas in the Yahoo rankings ended up being 37th on the season,
Mhm.
and Klingon was a second round value. He was 20th in the Yahoo rankings at the end of the season. He had 800 in both points and rebounds. He also gave you 150 assists, which is solid numbers for a big
Mhm.
man who's not necessarily known as a playmaker yet in his young career. And they also gave you 115 blocks and protected the rim very well for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how those guys worked out this season. They did pretty well and definitely gonna be strong contenders to be kept again this offseason.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. As we mentioned, this is your first title in fantasy basketball. You came close a couple of years ago when you went all in back in 2023, and you finished a second place against Kenny's team and Harry the Hawk. You lost a close matchup in that one, 5-4. Tell us, how many years have you been playing fantasy basketball and just been in fantasy sports in general? And maybe share a little bit about why you enjoy playing fantasy sports and just some of the reasons why you keep coming back and doing leagues like this.
Hmm. So I was looking back. I've been in this league for 8 seasons now, and I don't think I ever played fantasy basketball apart from this league. Um, so I've been around the association now 8 seasons. I think I only made the playoffs twice, so I've not been very good in my time in the league. Um, I've been doing fantasy football and baseball really since high school. I have um, a league with guys that I went to high school with that we still play those sports together. So we just had our fantasy baseball draft on Tuesday night. So I was able to do that with those guys. So I've been doing fantasy sports for, I don't know, something like 18 years or something like that, going back to when I was in high school. And um, I enjoy it. It helps me connect more with the leagues and what's more broadly happening in those leagues. Because I think when you're not plugged into the fantasy sports stuff, you might check the scores, you might follow your personal team, you might watch a few games here and there. Um, but I feel like you're missing out on some of the other stuff, some of the other storylines that are happening throughout the league. So, um, 8 years of fantasy basketball and over 15 years of baseball and football uh, in my fantasy sports history.
Nice. Well, you have a definitely a memorable season this year, making the playoffs, getting the league championship for 2025. Moving forward, obviously, you've traded a lot of your draft capital. I think I'm going to work on getting your draft capital pulled up for next season, but share what little you can without giving too much away. What is your mindset moving forward about how you're going to defend your title?
I think just kind of the nature of how fantasy basketball goes. Um, I think winning the championship again next year would be very unreasonable to have as a goal. Um, so I'm actually looking more at your team and how you did this year because you are in a very you this season are in a we're in a very similar position as to what I'll be in this upcoming off season. Very little draft capital, but man, some of your picks just hit. Um, so I think I traded first, second, and a fourth in that Luca Maxi trade. So I have a third. I got a couple of fifths, and then um, I think a pick around until the end when I got two 13s and two 14s. So um, a few years ago when I went all in, I'm pretty sure I didn't draft until like the 8th round that next season. So I was able to keep some of my draft capital intact. But I'll be looking at this rookie class really closely because there's some really top level guys that could jump in and um, have an impact this upcoming season. And if some of those guys hit and they have really good seasons, then uh, it could be that it's another competitive year for me. Um, so it's more about trying to find value and projected upside with the draft picks that I do have.
For sure. You're obviously going to be able to have still some great value with Klingon and Matas, as you still got 2 years of keeper eligibility with both of those players. And they're both going to be only 11th round keepers, I believe. Is that correct by what you remember as well?
It's somewhere around there. I do think they were 12th this year.
Yes, yeah, I got it here. They were both 12th round keepers. You have a couple of other candidates, I think, that could be strong keepers. You picked Nas Reed in the ninth round, and he performed exceptionally well with Minnesota. He was right around the fifth round value. He finished 46th in Yahoo's ranking. So you still got some good keeper value players currently. And of course, you got the offseason to make some trades and
Mhm.
potentially leverage some of that draft capital you do still have and maybe find some good deep keepers available. I was looking, you actually still have better draft capital than me because I tried to go all in to keep up with you, and and Tim and aspirations and try to make my best chance at a run. I don't have a pick until the fifth round, and I only have one
Wow.
fifth round pick. So I did my best to go all in and try to hunt down you and the leaders, but you had a great season, Nate, and you made such a great run going for the title and completing it. Seeing the poll and the results of the poll and just having another night to sleep on it, are you close to making a decision on your draft memorabilia? Are we going to break some news here on the association pod today?
Did the poll close yet?
I believe it's closing here in about 40 minutes from our time of recording. So,
So I can go ahead and hit end now to see the results because I don't know what the results are right now.
okay,
I'm gonna go ahead and end that poll. So apologies to anyone who is waiting for the last 40 minutes to vote in this poll, but we're ending it. Okay, I kind of expected the results. We had 5 votes. I did not vote in the poll because I wanted to see what people were thinking. And out of 5 votes, 4 of those votes went to the orange Illini jersey, which I think was the one I was leaning towards as well. Um, anytime I went to Illinois, so I went to games when I was in college and been to a couple games since then. And anytime you go, you're supposed to wear orange. So I was leaning towards orange because uh, that's just the color that you wear at Illini sports events. Um, but I love the scripty Illinois on there. It's just a really sharp jersey. So I think I will break the news and say I'm going to go ahead and get that orange one for my memorabilia prize.
perfect. Yeah, the orange is a great choice. You know, the cursive might be a lost language. You might have to teach your kids what cursive is so they can read that jersey as they get older. Since cursive is kind of becoming a bit of almost like a dead language, you could write some hidden messages in there. But I think the cursive looks great, and I voted for the orange in my contribution to the poll. I just think it pops great, and like you said, there's some great color schemes for the Fighting Illini, and they looked great in their game yesterday as well. And they dominated and moved on to the Elite Eight, so that's got to have you feeling great as well in March Madness to see them moving on to the next round as well.
Yeah, it's a really fun team this year. They have a historically great offense, and we didn't get to see a whole lot of that last night. I think they only put up 65, but they can go on runs, and I think they had a 17-0 run last night against Houston, which was the key to the victory there, winning by 10 against the 2 seed.
For sure. And I think they showed they're more than just that offense with their ability to shut down Houston on that run and keep that game low scoring. If they can keep playing defense like that and obviously have that historic offensive pace continue, you could have another championship to celebrate besides your own in fantasy basketball this year for sure.
That would be cool. I still remember the 2005 championship game against North Carolina that did not go our way. So it's been over 20 years, and uh, hoping to see some redemption and get the one shining moment for Illinois.
Absolutely. Well, Nate, congratulations again on the championship. Before we go, obviously, a lot of us in the league share a lot about our Christian faith and our belief in Jesus. And that's something that, as a league, we're thankful that we can bond over and share and pray with. And I
Hmm.
love that our league is able to keep that a focus, even with the competitiveness. So before we sign off, I just want to give you a moment to maybe share something that's been a blessing for you right now and something that we can share in that praise and blessing with for you. And if you feel comfortable, maybe share something that the league can pray for you about in your life and in your journey. Obviously, you just got ordained in the Methodist Church, and so you got some great moments in your career of preaching and spreading the word. So just want to give the floor to you before we sign off today and let you share of some blessings and some things we can pray for you about.
Yeah, awesome. Um, so yeah, I was just ordained an elder in the Global Methodist Church back in February. So that's the new Methodist denomination that formed coming out of the United Methodist Church, and I'm not going to go into any of that stuff. That's a whole mess. Um, but last week I was down in the Houston area for a conference, and it was a conference for Global Methodist Church young clergy and seminary students and young people discerning a call to ministry. Um, and it was a 3-day thing, and it was just a really wonderful time of worship and prayer, of being encouraged by other people who are in a similar life stage and ministry trajectory as myself. Um, and just seek the Lord together and to worship him and to be prayed over and um, just re-energized to come back home and do the work of ministry, um, to be a pastor here. So that was a blessing to me. That was really cool. Um, so I was down there while I was tracking my fantasy basketball championship. Um, so those two things were kind of going on at the same time. Um, but yeah, it was really, really good time, really good blessing for me. Um, Prayers, I don't know if I have anything specific. Um, I'm married. I have 3 boys. Andrew's 7, Benjamin's 4, and Elijah is 1. Um, so lots of prayers needed there as we're raising these boys and trying to raise them into good, godly Christian men. I am coaching coach pitch baseball and I'm coaching t-ball this season. So that's really fun and really exciting. Uh, Something going on in my life. So thanks for having me on. It was a good time.
Yeah, Nate, thanks for taking time to join us. Obviously, like you said, you and your wife are playing zone defense at home, so there's obviously a lot going on, but we're obviously excited to see you continue your journey as an elder in the church, and we're just so glad to see how the Lord's blessing you, and we as a league will make sure to keep praying for you as we do for the rest of us. Thanks for joining, Nate. Congrats again. We look forward to seeing the pictures of that orange Illini jersey once it comes in for you.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for doing this podcast too. It's really cool to have it for our little league.
Thanks, Nate. I appreciate it. And with that, that's going to conclude our interview and conclude the 2025-2026 season. We're going to try to incorporate some more manager interviews, both in the off season and during next season. So keep your messages open for me reaching out to interview you guys and bring you on the pod. And we're going to wrap up this season on a high note as we look forward to the off season. Thanks again, Nate.
Thanks for having me.
And with that, we officially wrap up the 2025-2026 season of the association. Congrats again to Nate for winning the championship. And everyone, I hope it was a great season and everyone had fun participating. Thanks again for all the support of the pod. During the off season, we're going to have a couple episodes of the pod in review of what segments went well, what segments that we want to keep running for this podcast series. And we're going to get some input and some surveys sent out to you guys so you can tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, and give me some more suggestions of things we can add to make this podcast be the best they can for us and give us the most enjoyment and continue to have fun with it. Thanks again to everyone. Enjoy the summer and watching the NBA playoffs as we are nearing the end of the season. And as always, God bless. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time.